Hey, good afternoon, and welcome to Enterprise Technology Spotlight. My name is Keith Hales with Info Systems, and thank you for joining us today. In our podcast, as always, we're going to talk about how different technology topics apply for the business consumer, maybe somebody who is not technical in background, but review a few different technology topics, and then talk about how it impacts their business, and then also give them some more information to be helpful hopefully as they're making calls and making decisions for their business. And this new COVID 19 coronavirus era that we're in, as you can tell, we're in a little bit different environment. I am here joining today from a podcast. I'm actually at the podcast from my office over a Teams meeting, and joining us on the other side of the Teams meeting is Robert Goodwin. So, Robert, thank you for joining us again.
Hey, Keith. Good to meet you again. Pleasure being here.
Yeah, I'm glad you could join us. And so normally Robert and I try to sit next to each other and talk about these different things. So hopefully we'll be able to do the dance of the remote meeting. The good news is we've had some practice over the last few weeks. I think we'll be okay. So to get started, I think the thing that I hope most companies have already at least made the initial change through, but there's still a lot of things that could be done for most companies, is improving their work from home environment. As the coronavirus hit, a lot of companies sent massive amounts of people home, thousands, in some cases tens of thousands of workers home, and it was a mad dash. I know we saw it internally. Robert, do you want to talk a little bit about maybe some of the work we did at a high level to help companies transition from a mostly in the office to a mostly work from home type of company?
Sure, Keith. At a real high level, our biggest challenge, as you already alluded to, was with that many remote people coming in, we had to make sure that the networks were bolstered, secured, that we had secured endpoint devices. A lot of laptops were being asked for, some tablets, and remote devices like that. Security, of course, is being the top of mind for everybody, because we want to make sure that you can do your work effectively, but over a secure channel, so that corporate information and private information is kept private. There was a very big on or push, for right at the first, and I think we're settling down now as most of the people gotten used to the idea of working from home, just like you and I are now doing a lot of remote meetings and things. So it's just, we saw that big push at the front. Now I think we're settling down. Security still being top of mind, because you got to be ever vigilant there.
Yeah, so the security is something that I think most people, I don't know if they overlooked it, but certainly could have been overlooked, right? Everybody was like, hey, work from home. They send them a laptop, or I know of some people that they just literally took their desktops home. But in those environments, where you're taking your corporate laptop to work from home, or you're taking a corporate desktop to work from home, things to consider there is obviously the security of your home network, right? If you have a wireless or however you have that set up, be sure it's got an encrypted password on there that's using the right protocols. And then the next thing is the operating system. So Robert, help maybe the uneducated on security topics understand, why can I not just log onto my home PC running Windows 7 and just launch into the corporate network that way? Why was that not a good idea? Why would my corporate IT group push back on just giving everybody access?
Well, I mean, first off, you're running a home version of the operating system, and if most people still run Windows 7 or even older systems, and those are no longer getting current security patches, right? Microsoft's no longer releasing security patches for those operating systems, so that leaves your corporate network, which you're then logging into, vulnerable, right? So the corporate IT is going to push back and go, no, you can't do that. You have to be on a patch system, up to date, supported OS, right? Operating system. You mentioned making sure that your home router or your home network connection, right? Because most of those are given by service providers other than what your corporate business is going to be providing, so they don't have control over those endpoint devices. So it's incumbent a little bit upon the end user to ensure that they've got passwords set on their Wi-Fi, that the routers have encrypted passwords, and they're doing everything possible within their limitations to make sure that they secure their home network, right?
Yeah, so we got the home network being secure. Obviously, make sure you're using a good operating system. You're using a corporate, or at least a professional version that's being updated, a current version that's being updated. You probably, if you're logging into the corporate maybe accounting system or ERP or CRM or even a shared drive, make sure those updates are and patches are being done. Make sure you've got antivirus on those machines. Make sure you're doing the blocking and tackling of security that really has to be done, because viruses can still move across the network, even if you're home and you're logged into a PC or a server at the office. A virus can move across that network just as easily as if you were sitting at your home desk.
Absolutely.
If a firewall is open, a VPN tunnel is open up, you're in. And so that risk remains the same. So, but speaking of firewalls, VPNs, this is one that's interesting. So, a lot of corporate networks were designed to have everybody in the office. I know
Right.
we've seen it where we've had some customers who their firewall, the first few weeks as everybody moved home and was trying to log in and set up the VPN connections and all those other stuff, they were getting crushed. Now, help people understand what the difference is. I mean, it's the same servers running the stuff, right? I mean, it's the same server running the same operating system, running the same, accounting software. Why is it all of a sudden a big deal that everybody's working from home?
Well, so that's a great point, Keith. So really, you have to look at it as what's your pipe size, or how many lanes in the road do you have, right? For the layperson, if you're everybody's used to working in the office, and you only need a smaller pipe or a narrow road to get out to the internet to do the normal business functions. But now everybody went, remote, they're dispersed. That same 2-lane road, you can't fit 20 cars down. If you had 20 employees, now you've created a traffic jam. So it may be, in some of our customers, we had to increase the bandwidth, right, pipe size, or essentially add more lanes to the road so we can get more traffic in and out. So that became kind of a performance bottleneck, if you will, for those systems.
We'll be back with the Enterprise Tech Spotlight podcast after we pause for this special message. Have your IT projects created stress on your team over the last few years? More than half of IT professionals say they are burned out at work. IT departments are under constant pressure to keep systems running while completing IT projects on time and under budget. And they often report that they're understaffed and underfunded. InfoSystems is now offering free IT project review sessions. Kick off your 2020 IT projects the right way. If you're planning or considering some type of IT project, software, networks, servers, storage, phones, and want to get an unbiased and accurate understanding of the skills, time, and cost required to make it happen, this is the perfect first step to take. Our expert project team will help make sure you don't miss important details, waste money, or overestimate your capabilities. Visit the InfoSystems website at www.infosystems.biz to request your IT project review. Now back to the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we're seeing, at least within our customers, is the systems and the servers that are inside their environment or in the cloud or wherever they are, they seem to be running just fine. But it was that transition of the network traffic coming from, inside the environment to now outside the environment, trying to get back into the corporate environment. Or if it's in the cloud, that should alleviate those issues or at least minimize some of those challenges. But nonetheless, we've still had some unique things happen there as IP addresses change and security changes and setting up all those independent remote access points. So, so one final thing, and I think I've seen some people being overly cavalier on this, and it's made the news in a few cases, unfortunately, where we're using Teams today, but there's all kinds of tools. There's WebEx, GoToMeeting, Zoom seems to be extremely popular. So my kids' school is using. What are some considerations from a security and just a best practice perspective, when thinking about which tool set am I going to use?
So one of the very first things you should be thinking about is, how can I secure my connection or secure my, we talk about VPN connections, right? And that's a secured link, but how do I secure my meeting, right? So a lot of, Zoom, WebEx, even Teams, if it's on a personal basis, by default don't have passwords. So when you create a meeting and you send it to your buddy or your coworker or whatever, it's a wide open meeting, and you're able to go and browse if it's open to the public, and you could have somebody jump into your meeting. Which would obviously be a disruption, and it's also a security risk because you're talking about corporate sensitive data and some things like that. You don't want to broadcast out to the world some of your internal information, right? So step one, make sure you password protect your meetings. I would also look for systems, Zoom made the news, right? But I think a lot of that had to do with because people weren't password protecting their meetings, making them private. I know they had a bit of an issue around a security patch, and then maybe they routed their traffic in a different way through China temporarily, but I think that's all been squared away now. But it's really just about how to protect your meeting from outside people. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. I think you did a good job answering the question. I believe it's like anything else. Whenever you're using a tool, you have to slow down and use it correctly. And I feel like, in the mad dash to get everybody set up to work from home so we can still be productive and do the social distancing and abide by the guidance from our state or local officials, everybody was doing their best. And I feel like people probably thought about the network connectivity issues. I think most of our customers did a decent job thinking about the home PC versus the corporate PC and the operating system and security there. But I think a lot of folks did overlook the whole remote meeting thing. They just assumed it was secure without doing the additional due diligence. And so I'm unfortunately, some people got bit. I do think most folks are much more aware now and are following better best practices, but nonetheless, it's something else that we should continue to remain vigilant on, because a slip up somewhere like that, whether it is that you're, a school environment, so somebody gets on and says, distracts, or maybe put something out and content out that shouldn't be there, or in a corporate environment, if you're going over sensitive data, you're sharing internal spreadsheets. You just got to be careful about what information that is intended for a smaller group that may get out to the larger group if you're just not following the best practices.
For sure.
Great news is most of these tools have the ability to become secure, but we just have to go through the best practice and make them secure.
And when in doubt, if final thought there, Keith, I think is always you can hit the question mark in the corner, right? Hit the README file, hit the help file, or even go to your favorite internet browser and Google, or whatever search engine you want to use. The top 5 list will pop up, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Or if you have any questions, you can always just call Robert Goodwin and email him and or anyone here at InfoSystems, obviously, if we can help. We've been trying to make proactive calls to a lot of our customers, being sure that they do have everything they need, they are secure. But certainly, we want to be helpful in whatever way we can. Just a conversation's free, right? So just come pick a brain. We want to be helpful. So
absolutely.
And Robert, thank you for joining us. With that, we're actually going to wrap up this session. The next session we're going to do is also going to be in the same format. It's going to be in this Teams meeting. We're going to talk about the new normal of all these remote workers and how that might impact technology decisions as they move forward. So please join us for our next session. But until then, thank you for joining Enterprise Technology Spotlight, and we look forward to getting back together with you soon. Thanks a lot.